Well, first of all, how are you doing today?
I'm good, sir.
It's
I
good. Good to
got
see
got
you.
this morning, did a few exercises, and so the body's functioning well. Yeah.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. That's good. Hey, just wanted to chat with you a little bit about this upcoming youth summit that you have here on
hmm
Wednesday. Um, kind of tell me a little bit about how exactly did this youth summit come about?
Well, it's I think it's a natural element for me, being a former teacher, former coach, a young person who grew up in this community, who had a lot of great mentors from Boy Scout leaders, coaches, advisors on my junior usher board. One guy who happened to serve both roles. He was my little league baseball coach as well as the advisor for the junior usher board when I went to St. Luke Baptist Church.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Being a parent as well and having young people who grow up in this community, and then also understanding that the youth right now make up 20% of our population, but they're 100% of our future.
Mm-hmm.
And know how important it is that we create the best conditions for them, just as we do for adults right now, to want to live in the city, work, play, raise a family, and grow old. And so helping young people understand that they have value, that they can use the talents and skills that they have to mature those skills and to put them in a position of self-sufficiency as they become adults.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And kind of so what are you touched on a little bit, but what are some of the things that you plan to have come out of this youth summer? What are some of the things that the youth will hear? What are some of the resources that they may receive?
I think probably number one, I want all the youth and the adults in that process to understand that our young people have value. And when they understand that they have value, their steps are different. They order the steps differently. They hang around with different people. They have different priorities and different attitudes about different things that they would do. And if you're hanging around, if you will, with people who understand that they have value, they're doing things that are more supportive of themselves, more supportive of each other, and they're not the ones, for the most part, that are having to navigate through as many challenges that they've created for themselves. You know, challenges are there in virtually any community, but putting them in a position where they can make better choices in terms of how they support themselves and those who are around them.
Okay. And you talked about the importance of mentorship as well. Kind of tell me why is having a mentor so important, especially maybe for young boys of color?
Yeah. We all have mentors, and some of them are not by choice, and some of them are mentoring us in things that we don't want them to be mentoring in, uh, because we have this tendency to look up to role models, and we follow what they're doing, be it good, bad, or indifferent. And sometimes we glean from them what they're doing that we think makes us popular, or things that we think will put us in a space where someone say, well, look at Jeff over there, he's doing X and Y and Z. But the aspect of having constructive mentors with young people is something that I've had from, again, I mentioned, Boy Scouts coaches, fortunate to have two parents in the household who both work, and they were role models for me, without having to say much, because you saw them doing the kind of things that they were doing. We have a situation now where everyone doesn't have that. And so I think it's the role of adults to find ways to create conditions where young people have mentors that they can follow and see and be responsive to, that's going to help them move into the right space.
Okay.
Yep.
And speaking of, oh,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, even from the aspect of having all those mentors myself, and also being a Vietnam vet, mentoring young men in the Jack and Jill Battalion for more than 45 years, and seeing so many of those products and byproducts of those young people who've been involved in those processes. Yeah, I'm honored that one of our sponsors, Michael Wright Schulte, is one of my mentees that had in this program, maybe too many decades ago to remember exactly what years I had him. but also looking at our keynote speaker, Mr. Josh Copeland, who is a mentee of mine that I had in 2007, along with Norris Cole, who was in the program as well. So when I look at those young people, and many of them tell me, or all of them tell me, whenever I see them and come in contact with them, how much it meant for them to be in that space and to help them create positive relationships with some of the other young people who are involved in that same mentoring program as well.
Okay. And speaking of mentorship and programs, I know that during your years as city commissioner, you helped bring My Brother's Keeper to Dayton as well. Can you talk a little bit about that program and the impact that that's had?
Well, yes. Bottom line, one of the things that happened with that, just with our the attention that we raised by talking about Obama's My Brother's Keepers initiative, and the activities that we've done in the schools as well as out of the schools with them, has shown increase in terms of Black male achievement as far as our schools is concerned. And it's something that sometimes people don't take a look at that data and to see that on a national basis as well as a statewide basis and locally, that the indicators in terms of attendance, behavior, those type of things, grades, those type of things have increased and moved in the right direction just based upon having that program. Because when you go in the direction of reducing the thought of hopelessness, young people again begin to take a look at themselves and see, okay, there is hope. There are some opportunities. There are some things that will benefit me, my family, and my community if I take this route as opposed to taking another route. Yeah. So it's one of the reasons why we're looking at this from several different perspectives. Mental health, we're looking at also issues in terms of vocational work. We're looking, like I said, at mentoring, but we're also looking at civic engagement. And I'm not sure if you remember last week, I took some young people who had just turned 18, from the schools to vote for the first time in their lives. And many of them also brought their parents. So again, very special on this past October 13th to take young people to vote and for them to help see that transition from youthhood to adulthood, helping them understand that those communities that vote the most get the most. And it's something that sometimes I think even adults tend to forget.
It's very true. It's very true. And kind of back to something that you said about the youth summit, where you said helping the youth understand that they have value. And
Right.
You talked about how things might have changed over the years. Can you talk a little bit about some of those things that might have changed and some of the specific initiatives that you have to kind of help reinstill that value and that confidence and self-worth?
Mhm. Well, one of the things I'll go back to one of the recent trips that we had with the My Brother's Keepers initiative in Cincinnati, maybe a couple months ago, where Senator Sherrod Brown and former baseball player and Hall of Famer Barry Larkin and the owner of the Reds sponsored again for the second year a program at the Cincinnati Reds baseball stadium where we had young men in the middle programs from across the state of Ohio attend a day-long series of activities at the ballpark, Great American Ballpark, where they listened to Sherrod Brown, they listened to Barry Larkin, they listened to attorneys, in terms of doctors, in terms of announcers, in terms of other individuals who have professional careers that are connected to sports, but not necessarily being a player. How you function as an announcer, how you function in terms of sports medicine, treatment and care of athletic injuries, how you function in terms of being a player agent. Having young people exposed to those type of careers. And so it says that even though I'm playing baseball, I'm playing football, I'm playing basketball, I'm running track, cross country, whatever the case may be, that there are related careers in those spaces that don't require you to be a top-notch, high-quality athlete. So exposing them to that, and they find some other talents in that process just by conversation that they think they may have. They may find some other interests that may come about that they didn't think they had. So even if you look at those who are interested in treatment and care of athletic injuries, that you may plant the seed for someone to be a doctor, someone to be a nurse, someone to be a surgeon, someone to be a, um, a medical artist, a medical photographer. I mean, there's so many areas of employment in those spaces. I mean, last week we had 45 young people at air camp out at the airport. And so it was a prelude to some bigger air camp programs that we have scheduled. But again, looking at all those jobs that are involved in aviation and how you can work in those spaces, maybe being a pilot, being an aircraft mechanic, being those individuals who are receptionists, those who are stewardess. There are just so many areas that sometimes our young people are not exposed to that put them in a space where they can make a high quality life living, supporting themselves and their families and their habits, and then have a little bit left over to pay taxes, you know, and also communicate and donate services to our community.
Well, that's true. I mean, definitely those barriers definitely can kind of help, can kind of cause people to not kind of see what's out there. Wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, we talked about the benefits that the youth receive from having a mentor, but what would you say to someone who is considering becoming a mentor? What are the benefits of that, and how could they get started?
Well, you know, first of all, it makes your heart smile. You know, I've been doing this for seemed like almost forever, at least 45 plus years with this one particular group. And the Jack and Jill Bourtine has been an organization that's been around for more than um, 50 years in terms of addressing issues dealing with young people. In fact, it's the longest serving mentoring organization for Black males in the state of Ohio and probably in the nation. I think we were the first city to have the Jack and Jill Bourtine. But that aside from that, I still recall the two gentlemen who started it in 1968 and the joy that they had as they addressed young people. And fortunately, them talking me into helping them in 1976. And I just can't begin to tell you the joy when I come in contact with so many of the young people that I see who have come through that program, who've been beneficial in terms of that program, and how they have given back. I look at the Martin Bayless, for example, free football camps in every city that he's played football in was a part of that program, I believe in '84. We look at, again, Michael Wright, the attorney, look at my keynote speaker, Josh Copeland, you know, I had him in the program, like I said, in 2007. So those type of, I guess I say, examples of young people will make any mentor proud and smile, you know, on a continuous basis. So the way that you get involved with that, you can come to our program. We will have Ms. Jane McEwen, who runs the Mentoring Collaborative for Montgomery County, and she'll be doing a session herself with young people and for those who got a little bit more gray hair like myself. And so we're sharing information about what's happening and some of the kinds of things that we're doing in this community.
Oh, that's amazing. And I know it sounds like this is something that you would like to, you know, carry on into the future. Kind of what's your
This is
future vision for this?
okay. This is the first annual. Okay.
Right,
So
right.
the first annual. So part of this as well is to have those young people who are repeating. Okay, those who may be juniors or sophomores who may be attending this summit this Wednesday, to of course be around in the schools, listen to some of the kinds of things that are being communicated, be a part of some of the kinds of things that we're doing in this community on a long-term basis. Those who are involved in sports teams, for example, to take up the banner to support and mentor some of the younger people that are in their lives, whether it be younger brothers or sisters or nephews or nieces or other members of the teams that they may be involved with as well. So it's trying to plant that seed, not only for them to understand how they can get some of the support that they need for things that they need in their lives, but also give them some of the kind of thoughts, ideas rather, and expertise that they can use in supporting young people who are closer to them.
Mm. Oh, that's great. Is there anything else that you wanted to expound on regarding the summit or anything else that we talked about?
Well, you know, again, I go back to this primary purpose now. Look at the fact that being a lifelong resident for the city of Dayton, except for the first 2 months of my life, okay, um, and understanding that both of my children were raised here, born here in Dayton, and that they're making their positive contribution to their society. Yeah, my son lives in Connecticut now, but my daughter is here as a principal here in Dayton Public Schools. But the key component that makes any and every adult proud and happy to know that they've touched someone who they've maybe passed the torch to, and that there are people who are coming up behind them making positive contributions, and they will say that one of the reasons why they're doing what they're doing is because they watch you or they watch some other adults who are doing some positive things. I spoke for a few moments last week at the funeral for Mr. John Moore, who worked with Parity. And it was speaker after speaker that talked about so much of what he has done in this community that stimulated the desire, the thought, and the energy for other people to do the same. And so it's those kinds of seeds that we want to plant from this perspective.
Okay. That sounds great. Nate, is there anything else you wanted me to ask or wanted him to talk about?
Yeah, for me, as you know, Mayor, I'm really into like software development and like cybersecurity and technology. And I was wondering, in the future summits, how do you plan to integrate like science, technology, engineering, and math into like the youth summit and like help youth understand about the future job and career opportunities that can come from them learning in those spaces?
Well, you know, thank you for that question, Nate, because I think the issue that we talk about a lot, you heard me mention Air Camp, for example. But one of the challenges that we have is that on a nationwide basis, teachers are being asked to almost just teach to the test. And we know from research and from data that test scores are the lowest indicator of productivity in life. But yet and still, is something that is a national craze at this point in time right now. So as we try to find more and more ways of getting young people to be exposed into some of the careers, maybe as early as junior high, and maybe in some cases elementary. You know, I found out that I had musical talent and artistic talent. Well, artistic talent, I should say, to kindergarten, because we went to a field trip to a farm, and we were asked to draw something that we had seen at the farm. I drew a horse, and then later on drew a cow. And the teacher was very excited about the quality of the drawings that I made. Now, at that point in time, I didn't know that I had artistic talent. And so that moved me to a space where it added another element of confidence, if you will, to me, you know, to move me in the right direction, if you will, in terms of how I embrace that newfound talent that I had. Something similar happened in terms of music. My fourth grade teacher always saw me beating on the desk. And so she made me go to a concert and where these drummers were doing their thing. So then at that point in time, I wanted to be a drummer. So I took lessons in music, etc., and wound up being a very high quality drummer, winning the worldwide talent contest in the military in '67. But again, it added to my value system. It also added some skills in terms of reading, in terms of math, in terms of connections and science and how those things are connected. So the point that you make, the question that you ask is a very, very good question, because what it does, when you put young people in a position where they're exposing themselves or being exposed to careers that they have never thought about, and when they see talents that they had that they didn't know that they had, and then they find a way with the right type of nurturing, right type of mentoring and support, that now they're moving in a much better direction, if you will, as opposed to a direction of chaos and maybe some challenges that they'd be better off not moving in that direction because of talents that they have. So it's all a process that we work together. But more importantly, is to find out from the young people what's on their mind. Find out from them what it is that they're being exposed to, what supports they need to have from us as adults, and then how we listen to that, and then we listen to the adults, and we find continuous efforts and processes to come closer and closer together to take advantage of the talent that those young people have.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate your questions.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate your
Yeah.
time. Definitely appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for your time, sir. And we thank you for helping tell this story on Elevate Dayton and including our diverse publication in this conversation.
Okay. Well, I hope you guys can make it. Okay. And so I
Yes,
look
sir.
forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Hey, thanks much.
All right.
Thank you for your
Cheers.
time. All right.
Welcome.